I want to bring in NBC's Kelly O'Donnell, who's covering the White House. Julie Sirkin is on Capitol Hill with me. In studio, former Florida Republican Congressman David Jolly, an MSNBC political analyst, and Michael Hardaway, former communications director for House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Okay, Congressman, judging by the number of standing O's, I kept looking to see if somebody counted them. I didn't see a number, but there were a lot of them. Republicans are 100% on board with what the president was saying last night. But the other side of that is we clearly know they're getting an earful, at least some of them are, from their constituents. So the Wall Street Journal said Trump is testing Americans' appetite for upheaval. Is he?
Sure. Yeah, look, Republicans are entirely on board, which also means Republicans own it, and they own this environment. And I think two things where last night may not have really landed, and I think we're going to see over the next 60, 90 days what happens. The American people fundamentally want a government that works, and they want an economy that grows. And what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing with DOGE is not just laying off and firing federal employees, they're disrupting federal services. And at some point, the consumers of those federal services are going to say, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for this. And then secondly, Donald Trump's economy, it's now his economy, is teetering on a real backslide here. The notion of stagflation now in conversation is absolutely real based on the Atlanta Fed's model. We'll see if that occurs or not. But inflation going up and seeing the economy in negative growth territory, if we see that, Donald Trump can no longer blame Joe Biden for that. And frankly, Donald Trump is contributing to the economic uncertainty with tariffs and some of the other moves he's making. So what we saw last night was a lot of truthful hyperbole, Donald Trump's words from his own book. You can call it lies if you want. This was not the most successful 100 days in the history of the country. It was anything but. He's disrupted the most important security alliance on the world stage. Ultimately, the American voters, as consumers of this administration, are going to realize the government's not working for me, and I'm no longer economically confident like I was when Joe Biden left office. Republicans in the chamber that were giving him the standing ovations are going to own that as much as the president does.
So, Michael, if you buy the thesis that patience of the American people is wearing thin, or at least starting to wear thin, what do Democrats do about it?
They have to tell the story. Donald Trump came in and said he'll drive down inflation and drive down prices. He's done the opposite. Our retirement accounts are in the free fall. You got the price of eggs going up, the price of gas going up.
But he said that's because of Joe Biden.
Of course, but that doesn't matter. He's owned this economy because he said that I have a mandate and they control the government. I think voters are smart, and they're smart enough to know that this is Donald Trump's economy. When they go to the store every day and eggs are $11, that is problematic. You fill up the tank, you can't afford $4 or $5 gas, and that is the real issue here.
So, Kelly, where is the administration putting its focus now?
Well, certainly, Chris, part of what they want to do is things like getting the tax cuts that the president talked about renewed in a permanent way. He laid some of that out last night. One of the things that was striking about his extensive address to Congress, the longest in history that we've been recording these, is that he talked very little in the grand sweep of his remarks about what he needs Congress to do. There were a few instances of that, but so often this kind of a speech in the chamber, speaking to both parts of Congress, the Senate and the House, is imploring them to go along with the president to get more done. There was some of that, but not as much as we typically would hear from presidents. In many ways, the president was stitching together his first term and his new term just weeks into office and touting achievements. Part of that is certainly setting the stage for framing his own time in office. He did that extensively. Here's a part of how he took credit and claimed credit for many of the things that he is doing and tried to put a stamp on what he wants to do going forward.
It has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about it?
So through all of that, you get a sense of how the president has a very expansive view of executive power. And while he was happy to have the applause and to use the Democrats to call them out and to highlight the disruptions, he very much is emphasizing that he has a central role in American life now and that he believes he can use that force of both voter support and certainly the support he's seeing in Congress to try to continue to make sweeping changes and to claim big credit for them. Chris?
Thanks so much for that, Kelly. All right, Julie, take us inside Capitol Hill. We know conservative Republicans are meeting with the president today to talk about his agenda and government funding. What are they walking into?
Well, they're walking into the meeting with an expectation that when they're walking out of the White House, they better come around to supporting the year-long clean continuing resolution that many of them have never voted for during their time in Congress. These are fiscal conservatives. These are members of the House Freedom Caucus. So many of them, like Chip Roy, for example, are vehemently opposed to any kind of continuing resolutions. This time around, though, we've already heard a softening in their tone when it comes to that, and it's in large part because Republicans have a strategy of trying to ice Senate Democrats out of this equation. We've been hearing for the last 2 weeks that House Democrats, including the top appropriator in the House, Rosa DeLauro, saying that she will not vote for a bill like this. They want to get certain guarantees, for example, that the administration will actually spend the funds that Congress appropriates. Well, to get around that and to get around Johnson's very razor-thin majority, what the Speaker is trying to do is to work with Trump and to work with the administration to force these House conservatives to support the CR so that when it makes its way to the Senate, they don't really need to rely on any Democrats. Of course, in the Senate, they require a 60-vote threshold. You're going to need Democratic support regardless, which will put them in a bind. Democrats historically not in favor of shutting down governments. And of course, these conservatives, what they were really looking for is that the DOGE cuts be codified in any such continuing resolution. It seems like the president had convinced them to walk off of that ledge. And when it comes to DOGE, by the way, I should note that Elon Musk had just entered the Senate Republican lunch to talk about his process on the cuts. Tonight, he'll also be meeting with House Republicans to address some of their concerns. So a lot of moving parts here, Chris.
Always moving parts. Thank you so much for that, Julie. But Congressman, can Republicans navigate that in any way? If you've been there, if you have a bunch of constituents and they're not happy with you, they're not happy with the way government is going, they're not happy with the way their lives are going.
Right.
What's your option here?
And we haven't seen the worst yet. I want to add a coda to what Julie's saying, because this is important about trying to get the budget done.
Yep.
The budget is 6 months overdue. An annual budget. October 1 is the start of the fiscal year. This is March 1. This Republican Congress has failed already at governing, and they're about to say, okay, we're going to put a Band-Aid on it. Now,
but to be fair, the Band-Aids have been pretty frequent in recent years. It's like, the deadline is a suggestion.
It used to be October 1, the fiscal year got pushed to Christmas, right? And then it was January. Now it's March, and they still don't have an answer. And oh, by the way, this fiscal year, the deadline is September 30th, and they haven't even started that process yet. What does all that mean? I think there's been such a focus on the firing and the laying off of federal workers, but as important as that is, if you're an American voter, you don't necessarily care that the federal workforce is getting laid off. In some ways, you might think that's a good thing, right? Fewer federal employees. What you care about is the deliverables and the resources of the federal government. And there's a latency there that I don't think we've realized. A good example, the VA just shut down its electronic health records interoperability contract, a maybe $10 billion contract. All of the contractors just got laid off and their businesses shut down, but the veterans haven't yet experienced the disruption of their health care. The young man last night, the survivor of brain cancer, that's such a compelling story. At the same time, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are shutting down medical research in the sciences. So at what point do we realize there are fewer cures for young men like that because of what DOGE is doing right now? Right now, the focus is on the breaking of the glass, but the rebuilding of it that's not happening is actually what's going to end up mattering the most.
Yeah, Michael, there's a difference between tearing things down and building them up, right? And the second part is always a lot harder. How do Democrats convince the American people that they're the ones to build things up? I think they tried to do that in November. I keep asking this question, but I don't hear a message that's significantly different than I heard months ago.
Here's the good news. Democrats have done the work in terms of doing the things that improve the lives of the American public. The problem is we don't talk about those things. We don't go home and say, this is what I did for you. We go home and talk about these other social issues that many Americans just don't care about. And so to answer your question, as the American people go through this period of sky-high prices, of the value of their retirement accounts falling, Democrats have to communicate to voters, this is what we stand for, this is what we have done, and now this is what we want to do for you.
So do you think they're doing that do they need to do it in a more aggressive way?
Aggressive and in the districts. Forget Washington, forget television, as much as I hate to say it. They should be in their districts holding town
Shame on
halls.
you for saying that
I
to
know,
me.
it's awful, I'm sorry. Multiple times a week. That's where they should be. They don't need to be in Washington and being a part of this circus that Donald Trump has stirred up.